Last time, by It's Squeakers, Chapter 8, Luna's Ruse. It had taken over an hour, when Applejack and Twilight had finally gotten Rarity to tell her what had been bothering her. She told him how the guards had followed her to her sister's cottage, and that she was the one who led them there. That part she couldn't stress enough. Other than that, she was unwilling to reveal more. Like, for example, how Fluttershy came to her current condition. Twilight couldn't blame her, though. She couldn't even imagine how guilty she must have been feeling from the events that led to her sister's arrest. Still, that wasn't enough to make Twilight completely sympathetic. She was frustrated with Rarity's negligence with Fluttershy. Most of all, she was furious that Rarity had given up on helping to make up for anything. Rarity just sat in the bed, moping to herself. Rarity, Twilight pleaded, you need to get up and do something. It might not be too late to help your sister. I'm sure if we go see the princess and explain everything, I could get her a royal pardon. Uninterested, Rarity slumped down into the bed, tossing the sheets over her head. Ugh! Twilight sighed in exasperation. You know what? Fine. You can just lay there for all I care. She stormed off towards the doorway, but right before she passed the threshold, she turned back to put in one last word for the distraught unicorn. Your mother would be so disappointed, she grumbled before leaving to see Fluttershy. Rarity winced underneath the covers. Twilight was right. Her mother would be disappointed in the failure that she raised. A single tear rolled down Rarity's cheek as her self-pity reached a new low. You know she's got a point, Sugar Cube, Applejack added. As bad as you feel right now, your little sister's probably feeling a whole lot worse. Susie Bell is probably better off without me. I've messed up her life enough as it is, Rarity argued from beneath the sheets. Applejack put her hoof in Rarity's shoulder. She pulled the sheets over her head. Hey, you may have messed up, but I know for a fact that Sleepy ain't better off without you. You may not think it now, but she needs you more than ever. Rarity turned to look into Applejack's proud eyes. But what am I supposed to do? What if I make things worse? Yeah, at least you could say you tried, Applejack did. Look, Sugar Cube, I won't tell you a story about a time I too almost lost my dear sister, Apple Blue. A couple of years back, our Granny Smith passed away. It couldn't have happened at a worse time either, because only a few days later, we had ourselves a big sap apple harvest. Apple Bloom was so upset, but life goes on. When I tried to get her to help out, we got into a fight. Well, I said these things I wish I hadn't. Apple Bloom got angry and ran off. I looked for her for hours until I finally found her skipping rocks by the lake. By that time, I lost the whole harvest, and me and her went at it again. That's when she said she wished Granny was alive instead of me. Let me tell you, boy, it had set me off. Well, do you know what I did? Applejack looked expectantly at Rarity, the fierceness in her eyes telling her she wouldn't let her go until she got an answer for this otherwise rhetorical question. You apologized? Shoot, I wish, Applejack scoffed, turning her head upwards in reminiscence. To this day, I can never forgive myself for what I done. I got so angry that I just turned and reared it. I bucked my poor little Apple Bloom. Applejack paused to look at Rarity with a distraught look in her eyes. I bucked her, Rarity, so hard that she fell back in the lake. I was feeling mighty proud of myself at the time. That feeling went quite quick when she didn't come up for air. I felt so guilty. Like Apple Bloom was right, and she would have been better off if I wasn't around. But he's not me. She needed me. I jumped in after her, found her struggling in an old fishing net at the bottom of the lake. I tried to get her free, but I couldn't tear her loose. My last breath, I gave it everything I had before I blacked out. I don't remember anything after that. But when I came to, Apple Bloom was standing over me, beating on my chest like I was one of Sakura's drums. I was looked back at Rarity, surprised to see that instead of moping, she was intensely listening to her story. First thing I did was pull her in and hug her like I never hugged her before. I was so happy she was alright. Laid there for a while. All we could do was be happy to be alive. But what did you do about the harvest? Rarity asked. There was nothing we could do. We just had to pick up and start over. Honestly, though, I'd trade a million Zab apples harvest for my sister any day. She was pleased that her story had the desired effect on Rarity. Completely stopped crying at this point. Instead, was waiting for Applejack to go on. See, the moral of the story is, even if you think she'd be better off without you, you see your poor sister drowning, you gotta jump in after her. Rarity pondered over the moral for a second. Certainly it struck the right chord. Rarity made a motion as if to get up, now determined to help her sister in any way possible. But Applejack quickly stopped her. Now, I know you gotta do what you gotta do, but I know there's a few points that you probably owe a visit to. Applejack gestured towards the room next to hers. Plus, plenty is the better the best you ever gonna get. But you gotta get yourself back into your good graces first. Rarity gave her a quick nod before getting up. Thank you, Applejack, she said with a smile. I really needed that. Twilight was still fuming as she listened to Fluttershy tell her about the injuries. Every time she would mention Rarity, Twilight would feel her temperature begin to rise. Last time she had been this angry at any of her friends was when Discord had returned. Twilight, is everything alright? Fluttershy timidly hid her muzzle under the covers. She began to notice that Twilight wasn't really paying attention. What? Oh, Twilight mumbled. She snapped back to reality. I'm sorry, Fluttershy. I guess I'm just upset with Verity. I didn't mean to ignore you. I said in exasperation. Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door, followed by a familiar voice. Fluttershy, darling, I was wondering if it would be alright if I had a word with you. Twilight looked back at Fluttershy with anticipation. It's alright, Twilight, Fluttershy whispered. Come in. She wearily called out to Rarity. The door opened up slowly as the white unicorn slowly made her way towards the bed. She glanced up at Twilight, peering through the cold stare that the purple unicorn shot at her. I'm sorry, Twilight. If I could just have a moment with Fluttershy, she begged. Twilight sighed, releasing the tension she held. Fine, I'll wait for you outside. She turned before Rarity could get another word out, bumping her with her shoulder on her way out. She couldn't help but be angry. At the moment, she didn't care really what she said or did. She made her way out the door as she finally breathed out. The air in the hallway was cooler, which helped to calm her down just a bit. Well, she is making an attempt at least, Twilight thought. Slowly, she started to feel a bit of regret for some of the things he had said. Frustrated with herself, she leaned against the wall, bumping her head against it a few times. She started to let her mind wander, focusing back to the clues she found on the plaque. Doubting it was even the right clue at all. Her friends had changed in the time since she had left. Each had their own real-world problems to deal with. Pinkie had gone insane, Fluttershy was injured and now had to deal with the prospect of a flightless life. Rainbow Dash was busy with whatever responsibilities came with being the captain of the Wonderbolts. Rarity, for whatever reason, had to save her sister. The only party that had seemed normal was Applejack. But she was probably busier than ever. Managing a farm was difficult enough, and now she had to do it with only the moon to provide light. They all certainly didn't have time to go chasing clues left by ghosts like a gang of mystery-solving fillies. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe Celestia chose the wrong pony for the job. Rarity made her way over to the battered Pegasus. A wave of guilt flooded her senses, leaving her teary-eyed in the seat next to the bed. This was the first time she had seen the extent of Fluttershy's injuries. I'm so sorry, Fluttershy. It's all my fault, Rarity bawled, falling into Fluttershy's lap as she continued to mumble incoherently. Rarity, I'm fine, really, Fluttershy assured. I don't really fly all that often. I'm sure I can adjust to the change easily enough. Oh, but look at you, dear. You're so simply awful. No offense, Rarity said, looking Fluttershy up and down. It's all my fault. Why I'm so careless, so stubborn. I can never forgive myself for what I've done to you. It's not so bad. It only hurts when I try to move it, Fluttershy said, making a foolish attempt to give Rarity an example. She quickly moved her hoof back to her side as she winced in pain. See, Fluttershy, I owe you everything. Not only for saving my life, but for all the pain I put you through. Rarity admitted as he tried to put aside the Pegasus. I know it's probably too much to expect, but I will do everything I can to earn your forgiveness. Oh, Verity, Fluttershy smiled. I already forgive you. You came to apologize, and that's already enough for me. Just promise me one thing. Rarity's eyes lit up with a glimmer of happiness. Oh, thank you, Fluttershy, she cried. Anything. I'll do anything for you. Please say Sleepy Bell, she pleaded. With a firm nod, Rarity agreed. Of course, I plan to. Now go. I'll be fine, I promise. You should go talk to Twilight. She's probably waiting for you. Twilight had only just let herself sit on one of the chairs in the hallway when the door to Rarity's room opened up quickly. Twilight bounded up to see Rarity standing there, waiting to speak to her. Oh, you're done. How did it go? She asked nervously. Well, she said she would be all right, Rarity replied. She was happy to see that I was okay. I really owe her my life. Both Twilight and Rarity patted a hoof on the ground, looked around the hallway as they waited for the other to steer the conversation in the right direction. Their silence was only interrupted by the squeaking wheelchair pushed by a nurse. Hey, I wanted to... Both ponies began using. Rarity, however, didn't let it faze her. I wanted to apologize for how I acted, she continued. I guess I just lost sight of what really mattered. Can you ever forgive... Rarity was interrupted by Twilight putting her hoof up. You don't need to apologize to me, Twilight said with a serious expression painted on her face. You're up now, and that's all that really matters to me. Twilight quickly shifted her tone to a more somber one as she nervously rubbed her hooves. I'm sorry I had to be so hard on you. Not at all, Twilight. I needed to hear it. But I must ask, do you really believe the princess forgives you about a pardon? Rarity asked doubtfully. Sure, I'm sure if we explain everything that's happened, she'll have no problem helping us out. Twilight impatiently began to gesture towards the exit. So, you coming or not? Twilight asked briefly. Let's just tell the others first. Twilight had dragged Rarity along at a very quick pace. In no time at all, they had made their way to the toll gate at the monorail station. Rarity stood in awe at the strangeness of the facility. It was nothing like she had ever seen before. With a few bits borrowed from Applejack, they paid their toll and went over to wait for the next train at the platform. Twilight continued to watch Rarity as she observed her surroundings. The longer she stared, the more Twilight began to feel restless. Rarity was acting so calm and reserved in her emotions, unlike Twilight, who acted like a filly the first time she saw the station. In truth, she was jealous of Rarity's now apparent maturity. The more she let her mind rest on it, the more frustrated it became. There she was, no more than half an hour ago, berating Rarity for her immature behavior. Now she was envying her for her maturity. Just before she could feel herself become visibly angry, she tried to change her focus on something else. Unfortunately, the only other thought in her mind was her fears that she could never get home. Just as quickly as they started, her anger began to turn to panic. What was she doing anyways, helping Rarity out like this? There was no benefit in her saving Sweetbell. Every minute she wasted waiting for the train was another minute she could spend for searching Celestia's final actions for any clues. Twilight began to shake violently as her breath became labored. It became apparent to her that all of her actions were only useful if they were planning on staying stuck in this time. Maybe Rarity knew. Maybe that's why she was so focused on saving Sweetbell. Had she maybe missed the notice that said they were never going to get back? The questions raced through her mind as she could feel her hyperventilation causing her vision to fade. However, just before everything went blank, she felt a hoof move on top of hers, gripping it lightly. Rarity had begun to hum a very soothing melody, as Twilight herself began to regain composure. It was unexplainable, the feeling that washed over her. It wasn't much different from the time Princess Luna had used her magic to calm her down. Or was something else in the way that Rarity did that just felt warmer. Twilight looked over to Rarity as he continued to hum the sweet melody, before quickly noticing that Rarity's horn glowed with a pale white light. Not once did Rarity look back at Twilight. She didn't have to, but she appeared to be drawing the power from a source deep in her own mind, possibly from a strong memory or emotion. It didn't take long before she had completely regained her composure, and even felt a sensation of euphoria slip through her body. She felt so relaxed that she was now having trouble keeping to herself from drifting off to sleep. What was that, Rarity? My mother used to always do this for Sweetie Belle when she felt we were scared or worried. Rarity replied. How did she learn to do that? I've never even heard of a spell like that. To be honest, I never really knew how she or I learned it. Just happens would be probably the best way to describe it. My mother used to tell me it was a strong connection between two ponies, something you couldn't teach or practice. Rarity turned and looked at Twilight, and for the first time since her attack started. I looked back and noticed the tears glistening in her eyes as love. I believe that is love. Rainbow Dash leaned against the door. She listened to Scootaloo unleash a rage and sadness on her belongings. She waited for an opening to try and explain everything to the distraught mayor, but her screams and sobs were unrelenting. Growing impatient and desperate, she burst through the door, focusing on the orange Pegasus. Scootaloo, please, understand, Dash pleaded. I did everything I could. No, no, you didn't, Scootaloo snapped. When did you ever? For my entire life, I've looked up to you. I never even mattered. She started walking threateningly over to Rainbow Dash, bigger against the wall. All that mattered to you was the stupid club. Hey, that's not true. I got you into the Wonderbolts. I helped you live your dreams, Rainbow Dash retorted, staring angrily at the outburst from the disgraced Pegasus. You think I wanted to be a Wonderbolt? Scootaloo scoffed. That was your dream, Dash. She quickly shifted her tone from anger to sorrow as he tried to get Rainbow Dash to look at her. All I ever wanted was for you to notice me, so I tried to be just like you. I did everything I could so that maybe, just maybe, you could start to care about me. I always wanted you to be like a sister to me. Somebody who would stand up for me. Somebody who would care for me. Somebody to call family. She quickly turned away from Dash as she returned to her quarters to start packing her belongings. But right when I needed you the most, you left me hanging. All that mattered to you was your precious position. But I did stand up for you. I tried to convince them that nothing I said would change their minds. I tried, Scoots. When was it that you started trying, huh? Scootaloo interrupted. Was it back when I first started to learn to fly? Was it back when I broke my wing trying to impress you? She started over to Dash, some hands for her face. Or was it when it was already too late? Before Dash had a chance to respond, Scootaloo fluttered back over to her quarters, finishing packing up her bags, and returning back to Dash once more. It took me all these years to realize, but you never really cared for me. I don't care I lost my position with the Wonderbolts. I don't even care I wasted my whole life training for countless hours, breaking nearly every bone in my body. I don't care. My biggest regret is that I wasted my life looking up to you. With that, she swung her bags over her shoulders and stormed out the door. Dash didn't even try to follow. She couldn't bring herself to move a muscle. She could only stand in the empty room with her mouth hanging open in shock. The train finally docked at Canterlot Central. Rarity and Twilight both rose up, squeezing into the crowded aisle of ponies, waiting to get out. With a loud door chime, the door slid open and they began to pour out. Rarity got to the grandeur of the building, as Twilight led her by the hoof to the Main Street exit. At the rate she was pacing herself, Twilight seemed anxious to be going somewhere. Rarity could hardly keep up as they rushed up from the platforms into a grand lobby. She took knowledge of the beautiful decor of the grand room, something that if, on another day, she would have to stop and look and appreciate. Before long, they maneuvered their way through the crowds of ponies and out the revolving doors. The open air must have given Twilight a second wind, because now she had appeared to have picked up the pace to a gallop. Twilight, dear, could you please slow down? Twilight Rarity asked, her voice falling on deaf ears. She couldn't really complain, though. Sure, she was having trouble keeping pace, but she knew that the quicker they made to see the princess, the quicker they could find out if she could really help them. Though, Rarity couldn't help but feel that Twilight had her own motivations for seeing the princess. They continued to press onwards, through the busy streets of Canterlot. Rarity was taken by shock over how much it had grown since her last visited. As they came to the end of Main Street, she turned to look up to the Royal Boulevard. Suddenly, with a click and a bright flash, Rarity stopped right in her tracks. Twilight looked back to see Rarity staring at the photographer, snapping a picture of the couple on the bridge. Rarity, we don't have time for a picture! Twilight shouted from the crest of the bridge. She walked back over to Rarity, and stood transfixed on the group. She waved her hoof frantically in front of Rarity's face, startling back to Rarity. Rarity, what's wrong? Rarity shook her head quickly as she remembered where she was. My apologies, Twilight. It's nothing, she said as she walked past her. Shall we continue? As they approached the familiar gates of Canterlot Castle, Twilight noticed that the guards stood at attention were not the same ones from before. This could pose a little problem, Twilight thought. She knew it was far-fetched, but she really hoped that the same guards were there so they would let them in right away.
Halt! What's your name and business here?
They both commanded in unison, firing the wings to bark out the gate. I need to see the princess, Twilight pleaded, trying to look as confident as he could. It's really important. Unamused, the older-looking Pegasus took an intimidating step forward.
If you are here on official business, Do you must present proof of permission for the princess?
Look, I don't have time for this. Now tell Princess Luna I'm here and she'll.
The guard,
Looking irritated being commanded like that, immediately pointing the spear he held in his right hoof directly at the lavender pony. Ugh, I hear unicorn syndrome.
leave now, or I will force to use it to remove you from the premises.
Twilight reeled back, bumping into Rarity before falling on her hindquarters. What's he wouldn't do for a miracle right now? Princess saved her last night. Maybe if I scream loud enough, she'll come out and save us again. She desperately schemed. Twilight dropped her jaw and took a deep breath, in preparation for the most blood-curdling scream she could muster. But before she could let it out, the younger guard spoke up. Commander, sir, I don't mean to insubordinate you, but I know who she is. That's
Falls raised.
He turned to the young guard and butted heads with him, pushing him back against the gate.
Private, what discourse places do you think you're doing? You're arresting me like this. I don't care who she is, and I'll have your high for insubordination.
Mustering up the courage, the young Pegasus spoke up once more. Sir, please, this Twilight Sparkle, the late Princess Celestia's protege, the Starver's Conquestia. He winced as he anticipated more than a verbal beatdown from his outbursts, but he looked up to see his superior's jaw was hanging down, surprised. He turned back to the element of magic, immediately recognizing her from the statue that stood in the royal garden. He quickly turned to draw his spear, fumbling as he snapped back into attention.
My apologies, Miss Sparkle. If I had known, well, it doesn't matter now. By Celestia's decree, you are always allowed into the castle. You can find Princess Celestia Luna in the royal statue garden,
he said matter-of-factly. Would you like me for your defense and escort for you and your guest? Young Pegasus guard reached down and held Twilight off the ground right before snapping up back to attention as well. No, that's right, Twilight assured. I can find her myself. Come on, Rarity, let's go. She called back to her as she moved through the gates. Rarity quickly followed, falling catching back up with her as they reached the grand lobby. She was astonished at how much had been changed in the time of their absence. The Yesenian dissected almost everything in the room, while beautiful caused Rarity to cringe. The darkness of the once bright palace created a gloomy atmosphere. It was certainly not within Rarity's taste. What certainly did catch her attention was a large crescent moon extending on the floor. It was tiled with the purest white marble that sparkled in the light in its crystalline appearance. Round the moon was more obsidian, but this stone had crystals embedded along the surface that made the ground sparkle like the night sky. It could almost be described as like the same silk that started this whole mess in the first place. They continued through the room towards the grand ballroom, which would lead right into the royal gardens. The room hadn't changed much since the last visit, other than the fact that the whole room was empty. During every previous visit, the room had been decorated to an almost Pinkie Pie extent, but it was now clear of any decorative flair, walls to floor. Perhaps there hadn't been a party here in months. Outside the ballroom was a gorgeous sight to behold. All the flora, even though delicate of flowers, was coated with a fine layer of snow, a result of an incredibly soft snowfall. The garden itself must have had its own climate, separate from the rest of the world. It was unrealistically peaceful compared to the windy and cold weather throughout the rest of Camelot. I could feel a strange vibe from all around the area, but she couldn't quite explain it. They made their way towards the entrance of the Royal Sculpture Gardens, crunching their hooves against the powder snow, disturbing the serenity of the setting. As they passed the impressive statue of Princess Celestia, they could see Princess Luna standing off in the distance, right in front of the Cusco Sienta. Twilight paused momentarily in her steps. The feeling she couldn't explain was now clearer. It was an all too familiar feeling, the distinct feeling of some point casting an enchantment. Twilight was elated to find out she could feel magic again. However, before she could call out to the princess, something caught her attention. A feeling seemed to be emanating from Princess Luna, and the area in front of her glowed with a pale light. As quietly as she could, she began to ease her way towards the princess, where it was Rarity followed suit. Fortunately for them, they got close enough to be able to observe what she was doing. Crunching her hooves caused Luna to jump up and turn around towards him in shock. Oh boy! She gasped. We were not expecting you back so soon. We? Forgive me. Old habits die hard, I guess, she said in a more casual, but slightly embarrassed voice. How goes your search for Celestia's clues? Well, not so well at all, Twilight admitted. But we're here for something else entirely. Something else, Luna blinked. We must ask you for a favor, Rarity chimed in.
After recounting the whole tale to Princess Luna, Verity threw herself at her hooves.
Please, Luna, could you please give my sister a royal pardon? She pleaded.
Luna thought for a second before raising Verity back to her hooves. Of course, Verity. It's the least I could do for you after all you've done for the Equestria. Verity was taken back by surprise, blinking rapidly so she could snap herself awake if this was indeed a dream.
Just like that, no cuts, she questioned.
Well, there might be one problem, Luna admitted.
Please, no. I don't have any idea why they're keeping your sister imprisoned,
Luna continued.
Now hold on a second, Twilight snapped. Does a royal pardon allow them to release her right away? What does the location have anything to do with this?
I'm with Twilight on this.
Well, Twilight, that was the first time that you've had a chance to disagree with something, and I had to jump in with you. Thank you. I mean, Rainbow Dash usually does it, I know, and so does Applejack, but none of them are here right now. Twilight, please, understand. The justice system has changed to accommodate my sister's absence. I gave up my power over the justice system a long time ago. I was never one for imprisonment. Luna could tell that Twilight still needed more to explain the situation. I gave up a lot of powers when Celestia died. Mostly things that have changed since my time, but I had not been able to adjust well to. Those powers I gave to my little ponies to handle as they saw fit. It didn't take long before they set up an impressive court system, but they eventually encountered another problem. Equestria was too large for one court to oversee, so they designed a system of districts they called precincts, each was responsible for handling the crimes committed within their limits.
Luna shamefully looked back to the two unicorns.
I could grant pardons, but for my word to have any weight, the decree would have to be delivered directly to the precincts he is being held at. Well then, does that mean she should be here in Canterlot?
The Lavender Unicorn became hopeful as they came to the conclusion.
I mean, the bank heist is what they arrested for her, right? From what you have explained, she has been on the run for many years, and has committed crimes all over Equestria. For all I know, she could be anywhere, the princess explained. Can't you just ask? Twilight began.
Foreseeing what Twilight was about to ask, she politely interrupted.
Twilight, the systems put into place are still very new, and as such they have many problems.
Luna sighed with disappointment as she began to explain the rest.
Unfortunately, communication is one of the biggest faults. They decided such matters such as crime were very sensitive, so they made the information private. You could ask, but you could end up waiting days or weeks for any information to be permitted to be shared.
Reddy had heard enough. Every step in the right direction, they take 2 steps back. Reddy's frustration began to manifest itself into heat, melting the snow beneath her hooves. The air started to swirl around slightly, causing minute eddies of snow.
Are you tired of this?
She sighed, trying desperately to keep her composure. At the peak of her anger, her mane and tail appeared to take a low glow as steam rose from it. She started to storm off to a place to quietly vent her rage alone. She took a fresh step. She felt a hoof slightly tap her shoulder.
Verity, I may not be able to help you the way you like, but I know what it's like to lose a sister, Luna confided. But all is not lost. At least for you. Your sister is still alive, so there's still a chance.
The midnight blue princess turned Rarity around with one hoof until she was face to face with her. She looked down and pulled her hoof up before levitating a small fire ruby to it.
Take this gem, Rarity. I'm sure it'll serve you better than I. Think of it as good luck to our muscles.
The gem glowed from a light that resembled an explosion, frozen in place, emanating from the center of the stone. You have your sign of enchantment.
Look at this.
Luna held up a hoof to Rarity's lips. See for yourself. She simply stared, before giving her a wink and turning towards the entrance.
I must take my leave now. I have so much work to catch up on. I will send you a written version of my decree, pardoning Sleebell of all crimes when I complete it. I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors.
With that, she trotted off back towards the castle. Rarity examined the stone carefully, turning it at every angle. No matter what angle she held it at, however, the frozen explosion inside appeared to follow her vision. It was captivating to look at, so much so she started to get lost in it. As she stared, the world started to become silent. The star of the stare started to burn brighter as the explosion seemed to flow away from a snail's pace. Without warning, her horn burst with white light, engulfing the entire area of Rarity's signature gem-finding spell. Only one location started to glow, however. A scroll rolled up in the statue right in front of them glowed brightly, before revealing a strange sight. It appeared there was an engraving within the stone scroll, written in mirrors meant to be read from the outside. The engraving itself was lined with some kind of precious stone, possibly rounded up to dust to fill the space between the thin cuts, allowing you to read it with a rarity spell. Twilight Sparkle, it read. She didn't waste any time at all. Carefully, she reached over to the delicate scrolls to the one that was held in the stone mare's arms. To her surprise, when she touched it, it was evident that the scroll was detached from the rest of the statue. Carefully pulled on it, easing it out ever so slowly, cautious to not damage any parts of it or the statue itself. With one final tug, it slid down. Twilight allowed herself to fall back into the soft snow as she did so. She clutched the scroll in her hooves, savoring the moment. Her childhood, no, her entire life she had dreamed about this moment. Sitting back up, she carefully lifted the flap on the case, revealing a rolled up and tattered piece of parchment.
This is it!
She repeated over and over again in her head.
Give it, Twilight, you don't want to tear it.
Verity said carefully. Twilight shut her eyes as she slowly unraveled a piece of parchment, only to hear a short gasp from next to her. As she opened her eyes, the first thing she noticed was a map. The second was words that read, Everfree City.